See yourself as in history as a Israeli politician who brought his party to power, or do you see yourself as a Middle Eastern statesman who brought in peace?
Well, the first one is a matter of fact. Yes, we did take a party that was smashed and defeated and seemed in impossible odds just a few months before the elections when the former Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was tragically assassinated. It looked like it was an impossible task for us to come to office, but I didn't think so, and we achieved it. And I'm very hard-line about our security that is necessary for achieving peace. They call me Benjamin Hardline Netanyahu. I'm the leader of the intransigent Likud government. These things always go to him. And this is, of course, an inaccurate portrayal of the media. I'm hardline to the extent that I think that security must be maintained, or otherwise peace collapses. You cannot have peace if buses explode on the streets of Israel and hundreds of people die as they died here over the last 2 years. People say that is not peace. We want real peace. And that's what I intend to give. And I'm very adamant about continuing the peace process, negotiating now continuing on the path towards mutual peace. Mutual peace means that Israel gives and the Palestinians give. We fulfill our commitments, they fulfill their commitments. Otherwise, contracts are absolutely meaningless. If a contract is expected to be fulfilled only by the Israeli side, what does it mean? How can we have confidence in future peace accords? So I want mutual fulfillment of mutual obligations for a mutual peace. We had here a collapse of peace. We had here terror in the streets. We had a small war in Lebanon in the last 6 months of the previous governments, and the people said, enough. Bring us security and bring us a peace of reciprocity, where Israel and the Palestinians, or Israel and the Syrians, equally make concessions to one another. And I believe it can be done. I recognize that it was, for the Arab parties, it was wonderful. Israel was giving, they were receiving. They didn't have to do, and didn't do, just about anything against the terror, and this was wonderful for them. All of a sudden, they're faced with a situation where they're asked to give and not only to receive, and they beat the war drums, they create a worldwide campaign of vilification against me, and some people actually believe it, but I know better, I know differently, and a lot of people in Israel know better, not all of them. And it's a question of time until the seriousness of our commitment to peace is understood by everyone in the world, I think by our Arab partners as well, and the fact that they'd better get down to negotiating a real peace with us. This is what we seek.
Your spokesman said the other day in an interview that you would not mind a limited Palestinian state. Could you define the contours of that Palestinian state?
Well, he used the word state. I didn't. I've been talking about a Palestinian entity that would not have those sovereign powers that would threaten Israel's existence, its security. Look, you have to realize not only is Israel smaller than India, 5 million population, actually closer to 6 million, but it's also considerably physically smaller. It is all of 50 miles wide today with the territories incorporated. Between the Jordan River, which is our eastern boundary, and the sea, we are at most 50 miles or 70 kilometers at the widest point. Now, if you take away the mountains of Samaria and Judea, the West Bank wall that rises from the Jordan towards the Mediterranean, we would be left on the Mediterranean coastline with a 12-kilometer strip where we would have to huddle along this unprotected shore. We couldn't live that for a day. And therefore we have to find a balance between Israel's needs for security and the Palestinians' need to govern themselves. And I believe that such a balance is possible by taking those areas that are populated with the Palestinians. Most of the West Bank is unpopulated, by the way. But delineating an area that goes to the Palestinians, areas that Israel retains, and also delineating what powers the Palestinian entity has within its domain. Should it, for example, be allowed to make military pacts with Iran or with Iraq? That could be a mortal threat to Israel. I say no. Should it be allowed to field an army with rockets, including handheld missiles that could shoot down the plane that you landed in Israel, because we could do that from those hills. And I say no. In other words, there will be a curtailment of certain powers. I would say the great majority of powers would devolve into the Palestinian entity. They'd be able to run their affairs, choose their representatives, have their institutions, and run their affairs with self-government. But certain powers that are related to Israel's security will be kept by Israel, and certain powers would be shared by Israel and the Palestinian entity. It's a more complex solution. I suppose it defies easy slogans, but it gives a balance to Palestinian needs and Israeli needs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.